Hello, everybody, and welcome to our continuing conversation around why Black Lives Matter. We are now on part 48, and the topic for today that we believe is quite something to explore is the intersection between LGBTQ plus and people of color, and what that intersection or cross-section actually means and how it plays out. So we haven't really delved into this level of topic from this point of view before. And I also know that there are some people in our group that are not LGBTQ, but again, it's still about the healing. It's about us walking the path together. So please don't feel like you don't have a perspective on what is happening, and please feel free to share your thoughts and feelings as they come up so that we do continue the healing process. So I think one of the things that stood out for me in the in looking into the intersection of what it means to be LGBTQ plus and a person of color, there's just this almost a energy of heaviness. Like it almost feels like a battle on two fronts, as opposed to being peaceful in one sphere of life. So yeah, it just kind of felt like it felt like the next level and the next piece of healing, but it does feel a bit like a heavy topic. So I'm not sure if anybody else has a perspective on it right now, and then we can explore whatever healing comes up that we believe will be feasible and appropriate for us during this conversation.
I'm gonna try and put a hand in this, but I'm gonna do my best to not get off topic. Um, so there's two perspectives that I see when it comes to this. So I've seen that there are some people who think that, being, first of all, there's a consciousness of like being African American, that you feel like you have a target on your back, quote unquote. And then on top of that, there was another target on the LGBT community. So I feel that I don't want to get off topic. Okay. It's like some people look at it as notches in a way.
Look at it as what?
Notches?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Notches. Yeah. Yeah, some people look at it as notches a little bit. Yeah, in a way. I
Okay,
don't
but in
know.
what
I
way
don't
do
know.
you
This
mean
just I'm
notches?
just trying. I don't know.
No, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Let's
But
explore it. Like, yeah, because like I understand what you're saying in terms of it's probably a couple of layers and it might look like a
yeah,
notch perspective. So I'm just
because
trying to marry the concept in my mind.
because both communities have discriminatory uh issues with their
Mm,
communities. Yeah.
mm. Yeah. So if you
I
feel
would
into
I would
this
go
space,
I
what
would say
comes?
something even I have something even better for that, but
Go for it. Go for it.
okay. All right, again, I'm trying not to get off topic. So, uh back in, the 80s, in the LGBT community, there was a cancer that was on the rise that took away millions of, homosexual, mostly predominantly homosexual men, HIV and AIDS, right? So, this went on for pretty much the entire decade. And and when it got to the early 90s, where, doctors and scientists were finding ways to prevent this illness from taking someone else's life, uh, it came out that the what's the word that they used? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I forgot the word that they used. Not treatment. Uh, uh, fuck it. It's like a treatment. It's like a
Thanks,
treatment.
Digi.
It's like I'm trying to get the word. I don't know it. It's like two medicines together that someone with the disease would take for them to keep their T cell count up and not
Yeah.
have their immune systems destroyed. It came out that the people who were getting these tests were only Caucasians. The people who were African American weren't really getting them. And there was protests going on at the time for these things to change. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying to help, but yeah,
No, that's
that's
perfect.
what, yeah.
That's perfect. So, like I think that knowledge or a perspective about the history helps to open up the narrative. So don't worry about trying to help. Just do your piece. Just
Yeah,
give your piece. Let go of the pressure of having to help.
I'm choosing to give God his job back. Yes.
Good job. Yeah, so and I understand what you're saying around the notch thing, and I think that's probably, as you said, possibly an incorrect use of the word, because notches is almost this thing of achieving something. So you achieve the next notch kind of thing. So this is probably more of, and it might even be the opposite perspective of, it's a whole nother layer of healing that keeps on, or trauma possibly even, that keeps on stacking on top of each other. And so there's layers of trauma to heal through in the process, because again, it's that battle on one front of being a person of color, and then it's the battle on the other front of being an LGBTQ person. And then when you marry these two, there's a whole nother identity that you have as well. And so all these identities are things that people kind of need to incorporate back into their lives. And as they incorporate that back into their lives, they kind of need to also incorporate that back themselves back into society in some way or another. And one of the things that stood out for me when Yoreen and I were looking at the thumbnail and meme for this week was just that there are no real body positive images of LGBTQ plus people of color. So when you look at it, it's all these almost tribal pictures of naked torsoed men, and things like that. And then the pictures that you do find of gay couples, lesbian couples, they're very pixelated. They're not loved. You can just see that it almost feels like it was done for the sake of doing it, but there was no love in the process of doing it. And then then I looked at some other stuff, and the pictures that really had the love in them was of LGBTQ plus weddings. So you go from the extreme of the love is hidden to the next extreme of like there's nothing in the middle, and then there's the wedding. And we looked at so many images, and I can't actually tell you that we found I didn't really find anything of substance that we could say like this is this is proper representation of that intersection. And Doreen, I don't know how you felt about it, because I felt it was like a little bit of a challenge to actually just find something that was representative of the conversation today from a picture point of view.
It felt like we were hunting down just having a decent image of like LGBTQ plus people of color. It felt difficult because we spent like probably hours looking at things, and yeah, it definitely feels like LGBTQ couple and people are in our community an afterthought in terms of representation, which is very sad to me because like the foundation of the LGBT movement is Black people, Black women, transgender, people of color, all those people that feels like they have several different identities and that are not accepted today for their intersectionality, which is really sad. Yeah, it felt like there was, you know, the LGBTQ plus movement felt like
I almost had the sense that I was searching for a unicorn.
yeah, like a rare thing, like we don't really exist, and that white people are predominant, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
I'm
Someone's
sorry.
gonna say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. There's something else that I want to point out. So, being that you know, gay marriage wasn't legal until what, 5 years ago? I think it was. I think it was like however long it was. I forgot the year. Um, that there was that's another piece of the consciousness that adds to the discriminatory, because they didn't feel loved. The LGBT community didn't feel loved because they weren't allowed to do certain things that, you know, heterosexual couples wouldn't do. And also, I don't know if you guys know this, in Nigeria, you can go to jail for just being a homosexual. In Africa, yeah, you can go to jail for, I don't know how long it is, but yeah, if you were, let's say, if you were to walk around holding another man's, if a man was to walk around holding another man's hand, you could get arrested for that in Nigeria. So, again, yeah, African American, LGBTQ, yeah, there's a lot of, again, trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, and also numbing yourself out to not truly be who you really are. So that's another part of it to add.
Yeah, that's and you know what, that the feeling for me was almost the energy of hiddenness, in that we couldn't find the images. I mean, like, you know, like I agree with Deji that it's probably not been very prevalent, but it's also been years and years of people probably loving each other quietly because it wasn't accepted and it wasn't acceptable. And so I just feel like there has been a history. We may just not know it. I know there's a couple of countries in Africa that are very homophobic. And one of the things that actually stood out in the last few weeks was US embassies in those countries actually flying the LGBTQ flag as well, you know, as a symbol of we do not accept this kind of oppression, and just the work that's being done in terms of looking and choosing to have equal rights for people of color, for LGBTQ people, for some, I mean, some of it was around even just the violence against Chinese people and those kind of things. So I think that it's becoming more and more of a narrative saying we need to explore this. We need to heal this. We need to unpack this. And one of the things that I think is also possibly a thing to feel into is, you know, that energy of, are the right conversations happening at the right times? Because I think people still, it's, for me, that I feel like there's still an energy of avoidance in certain subjects, and that's possibly part of why that history of hiddenness is translating into photography, and it's translating into media and those kind of things. So like one of the shows that I've recently watched on one of the Netflix series was Pose. And I think you guys would know it as on an FX channel or something. And that really does speak to that significant pandemic and how the LGBTQ plus people of color just almost developed their own community where they were safe. And they created homes for these children that were kicked out of their homes at that time by parents who couldn't parent a gay child. So it's like layers of familial trauma, it's layers of societal trauma. And, you know, even in all of that narrative, there's still opportunity to heal. But that healing does come from, we need to have the conversation. We need to explore what that intersection actually is and what it brings up for people.
Yeah, two things. The third season of I think it's the third season of Pose just ended. So the series is done. It's done. It was the final season. And what I was just speaking of earlier with you know, the discrimination with the African American LGBT community with the treatments that were happening with the AIDS virus, it happened on this current season that just finished. So you would, if you can find it on the internet, you'd be able to see that for yourself. And also when Granville brought that up, it makes sense as to why a lot of the LGBT community, predominant, not, I'm not gonna say predominantly African American, but it makes sense as to why the community has been overly sexualized, because they've been doing that to, you know, to hide their trauma and how they really feel. So that makes sense.
I haven't watched Pose, but like there's a really good like there's a French woman who is an artistic director and films her on documentaries. And a few years ago, she did a documentary series, which is called Open Voice: Conversation with Black Women, French-speaking Black women. And so what the women were saying was like, for example, I'm Black, I am a woman, I am gay, and so I kind of feel like I have to choose my battles. Otherwise, it's going to be too hard to shoulder. And so I think there's this feeling of hiding there, you know, because it's going to be too difficult to be an intersectional person in terms of discrimination. Some people are just going to hide or be more discreet in some parts of their lives. And so, for example, for Black women, it would be easier to hide that you are gay. And that could translate into why we don't see as much representation today.
Yeah, so, you know, like when you say that, like the thing that comes up for me is also the other extreme. So there's the extreme of hiding, and then it's the extreme of really in your face, loud and out there, and possibly almost obnoxious energy that kind of makes people not want to engage with you either. See, and you like that these two, it's almost a dichotomy of these two things, like one on the one end and the other on the other end, and they don't necessarily meet. And where they meet in the middle, there's always, even internally, there's that kind of clash. Like, you're not really representing us. Like, what are you doing? Like, who are you being right now? Like, if that's how all of you are, then if that's how some of you are, then the rest of you must also be like that. So it just feeds all sorts of generalizations as well, which inadvertently stops people from wanting to get involved and stops people from wanting to get to know and to understand. Because I'm speaking a lot from my perspective. Like, if somebody's a truly screaming queen, I have no energy for them. Like, it just feels like drama, good morning, drama, good night. Like, I don't know how you guys have experienced it, but like, really, like, you know, when that energy is so flamboyant, even me as a gay person, when I go like, whoa, you stay away. That's enough of you. Like, you are properly draining my energy. And so, like, you know, that's some of the stuff that interferes with allowing the connection to almost organically happen. It interferes with allowing people to ask questions because you're so in their face and you're so flamboyant and on a level possibly even scary to more reserved people.
Yeah, I think you're pointing out like it's good to be grounded. So I like that.
Yeah, I think it is groundedness, but I think it's also feeling safe that you don't have to fight for attention. You don't have to go out and, for lack of a better word, paint the town red with your personality. Like, what is that?
When I'm looking into Marsha P. Johnson and her fellows back then at Pride, she has this very calm, very poised energy, very peaceful. And somehow through history, Pride has transformed into this energy of, I'm going to be so loud and so visible that you can't ignore me anymore. And I feel this is a cry for this of despair from a community that has suffered, especially in years where they were not treated as human beings. But yeah, it does feel like a draining energy. It does feel like it's not grounding. So yeah, I feel we could set an intention of having a pride that truly represents LGBTQ people in peace.
You know what? You don't, like, when you say it, I think it's literally pride. It's the core of pride. It's like if I'm proud of myself, I'm gonna probably be more settled in myself. I'm gonna probably be more relaxed in my energy. I'm gonna probably be better able to show up in my energy. So I feel like that almost goes to the core of the word pride and proudness. And I think we sometimes mistake it for arrogance in a certain sense. And there is a difference. We all know the difference. We know what arrogant energy is versus proud energy. And so when we now feel into Pride Month and we feel into the core of the meaning of that word, like, I am proud of who I am. It doesn't mean I have to go and do cartwheels all over the world to show the world who I am. You know, and like, one of the things that has always, like, you know, at some point in my life, it was a standing joke with friends and with my friends and I, that, you know, like, we would point out the next person that was coming out of the closet. And that, you know, and the sense was that person's gonna pole vault out of the closet. Because, you know, at one stage they're so deep in the closet that, like, nothing happens. And then the next minute they're so out there, you can only have pole vaulted to get to that place. Because it wasn't a walk. So that was kind of the energy that we had going. And, you know, and yes, it might have been a little bit of energy of not understanding where people are coming from. But at the same time, I think it was also an energy of understanding these various personalities that just really went overboard. And then it brings me back to, in the spaces where I did go overboard, what drove it? And it was the energy of, I will take up space. I will take up space. I will push those buttons. You show me a button that you don't like pushed, and I'm going to push it. But that's not from a place of peace. And that's not from a place of being comfortable in yourself.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I didn't know how to like articulate that. But I was like, I feel like people who do like are very flamboyant is because they know that there are people who don't accept them. So they're like, I'm just gonna be as loud and as myself as I want to be, and I don't give a fuck. But they're doing it more out of a place of like wanting to, in a sense, still be accepted. But it almost feels like it's coming from a place of hurt and not from a place of peace, like you were saying. So I'm glad that you articulated in that way, because I didn't know how to express it, and I feel that you just expressed it beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you know, like, and I, you know, I can share that perspective because there's been times in my life when I was that person. I was the person that if you showed me the button not to push, I pushed that button, and I pushed it well.
I never saw it. I never saw what's the word I'm looking for? I never saw the loud individuals as people who were hurt. I just took it as, you know, just high energy and just a lot of again, pride and being proud. That's how I didn't see it as, you know, being hurt. Because, you know, like Marsha P, she, you know, she just, you know, did her, she did her shit. One period. And I just didn't see it as, you know, her being her. I just saw it as her being proud, just like standing in her place as an individual or a child of God, if the best word to use. That's how I never saw
But
it as.
she did it in her peace is the point, but she's doing it from a place and not more of a place of like, I need your attention. It was almost like she commanded the attention by being in her peace. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what, and I think maybe this is where the distinction sits, is that you can be flamboyant, but you're not flamboyant from a place of lack, a place of I don't have a place in the world I must take. It's that energy of lacking something, so I must take attention, I must draw attention, I must get. Whereas if you're in your place of, when you're operating from a place of peace and you are a flamboyant energy, it doesn't feel, and to me personally, doesn't feel intrusive.
So would you say that extroverted individuals have the most trauma?
No. So extroversion and introversion are two very separate things. Like I have extroverted energy, but that's because I've learned it. I'm a taught extrovert. I'm actually very much an introvert. And the difference is that extroverted people draw energy from interacting with other people, whereas introverted people draw energy from spending time by themselves. So the distinction there might be applicable in certain instances, but I think it's that energy of, does it feel intrusive? Because somebody can be very energetic and it doesn't feel intrusive. And then somebody could be so flamboyant that it actually feels intrusive to your auric energy. And that for me is the distinction that I draw and the difference that I feel in interacting with people. Does that help, Gigi?
Yeah, the other way that like it's coming to me, the best way I can like explain this is like there's like, so I've heard like men be like, I do not care if they're gay as long as like they don't come hit on me and like try to like press that onto me.
That
And
is so
for
annoying.
like then for a gay man to turn around and be like, oh, because that bothers them, I'm gonna go do it, like type thing. Like that's the energy that we're talking about. And if a gay man's like, okay, cool, like I'm not attracted to you anyways, do you mind if we just have a conversation? Like there's different energies coming at you. So it's kind of like how I am understanding in a sense, also where Granville is coming from. It's just like are you is that not your natural part of being? Is that how you show up in life everywhere? Or is there a part of you who does it because you know you're pushing buttons? Because you know that there is an uncomfortability there. Are you going to express yourself in a particular way, in a place of where there's hurt there and you're coming from a place of hurt? Or are you coming from a place of peace? Like, this is your true authentic self. This is, I don't care who it is, how I show up all the time.
Yeah, Kanisha, I think that's the perfect example, because it really is that energy. It's that energy of the gay guy around the corner who's like, I'm going to hit on this straight boy because I know it bothers him. I know it's going to irk him. It's literally
that's
that
a
kind of
different
thing.
story. Yeah.
So and I think that maybe helps to just kind of give a sense of what the difference is in that energy. Like if you're coming from a place of peace and you're loud and fun, and that is your personality, you have a bubbly personality, and you just so happen to be gay, so bloody what? But if you're using that as the crutch to show up in society or to push people aside with your crutch, that is a challenge. And that's kind of the distinction I would like to draw here.
Yeah, so how are you feeling?
No, sorry, like it's just, I think it's, it's like, it's this heaviness of, like there's so many components to this intersectionality. Like there's a lot of components. And it actually just feels like a heavy energy.
And what do you need in that space that feels heavy?
Like the thing that comes up is lay the burden down. It doesn't have to be a burden.
You give that to God.
Yeah, that definitely feels lighter.
Yeah. What do you receive by holding on to this burden?
Nothing really.
Exactly. So then when you give it over to God, what do you receive by letting it go?
It's like another layer of freedom.
And what is freedom in this space? What does that look like to you?
I have this mental picture of almost taking off blankets. So yeah, it's like, it's almost the energy of the shroud that's removed.
Yeah, and do you choose to embrace that freedom?
Yes.
It's your natural birthright.
Yeah, like I have this feeling of constriction in my heart. Like it's almost the sense of being afraid to fully go into that space.
Yeah, do you see that part of yourself that's afraid to go there?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you give yourself permission to love yourself in that space? It's safe to go into that cave?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Can we choose to acknowledge that there is a gift here that is waiting for you to unwrap it?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is that fear?
It's probably just a little bit of fear of actually looking at it in the first place. Yeah, just like this fear of actually looking at it. And yeah, like when I do look at it, it doesn't feel insurmountable. There's a piece of healing there that I think needs to happen at a deeper level. But when I feel into it, like the heaviness that I kind of experienced around my heart is not as much anymore.
Good. So a place that desires that deeper level of healing, what is that? What is there?
Sounds again?
I said that place that you said looks like there might be some deeper level of healing there. What's in that space? What needs to be healed there?
A deeper level of acceptance.
Yeah. Do you choose to give that to yourself?
Yes.
Good. And is it up to you whether or not others accept and receive you?
No.
And who truly accepts and receives you just as you are?
Sorry, you broke up there?
I said, who truly accepts and receives you just as you are?
God does.
God does, yeah. How does that feel?
Actually, it feels quite good. Like there's spots in my back actually relaxing.
Yeah. Do you choose to relax into your natural state of acceptance and peace?
Yes.
Good. Is there anything else coming up here in this space?
There's like a little niggle.
Yeah. Do you choose to release resistance so you can feel through that completely?
Yeah. You know what it is? It's this feeling of and this thought of what now?
And who gives you that step of what's next? What now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah. So can you surrender that to God? But what's now or what's next?
Yes.
Yeah, you only have to heal through the episode that's right here that's in front of you. You don't have to figure out what's next yet. Just surrender. That's the card that we have here, is just surrender to complete healing. Completely love and accept all of yourself. See all of your divinity and your perfection. And the truth that God makes no mistakes in his creation. And you are his perfect creation.
Yeah, that definitely feels better. Like I literally feel like my feet are actually warming up.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you need in this space?
No, it's kind of just like permission to have fun with who I am.
I love that. Yeah, just give yourself all that permission to allow yourself to express yourself in any way that feels good to you as you desire.
Hmm.
And how
Yeah,
are you
that
feeling now?
definitely feels a lot lighter, a lot more peaceful, a lot more comfortable.
Good.
Yes,
Are you
comfortable
feeling
is the
complete
word.
here?
Sorry?
I said, do you feel complete here? Do you feel that you could go a little deeper? Is there anything else?
I feel like there's another piece here.
Okay. So what's coming up for you here?
Yeah, it is like, it's just like that. It's a little bit of resistance to the releasing the what next. Yeah.
Yeah, do you see that part of you that's resisting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you need here?
Like, chill the hell out.
Yeah, do you choose to release control here?
Yes. Yeah. This is like, yeah, this is like my inner self telling me to just actually bloody relax.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is it safe to relax into your union with God and just allow him to lead you?
Hmm. Yes.
Good. Yeah, he's always going to lead you perfectly.
Hmm. Yes. That feels good.
Good. You also choose to let go of the belief that it's your job to figure out what's next.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay to give God his job back.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you need in this space?
Just allow the peace to settle in.
Yeah, good. Just give yourself a big hug. Allow that part of yourself to integrate and come home to you.
Hmm.
Wonderful work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next card is joy. You delight in the love of life and bring a spirit of fun to all that you do, which is perfect. You went into the deep cave, you loved yourself, and all that's going to come from it is a deeper level of love and joy, your natural state of being.
Hmm. Yeah, like that actually feels quite cool.
Good.
I can't actually tell you what was going on before, but I can tell you it feels really cool now. Hmm. Yeah.
How are you feeling, Deji? Okay.
Pardon?
So how are you feeling?
I don't necessarily have a bad feeling.
Okay. Was there anything that you received from Granville Filling?
maybe I feel it was like a better understanding, of why, you know, some of my affiliates in the community act the way they do. But that, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Something feels a little off here. Unless
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but something feels a little off here. So I guess feeling deeper into like how some of the people treat you, going into that feeling, is there any place that doesn't feel peaceful to you about that?
That doesn't feel peaceful. It's a feeling of control because I don't like that they treat people like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I can't do anything about it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That, you know, go into that space, that part of you that is upset that he has no control on how other people treat those who are of color and who are LGBTQ, that unfairness. Yeah. What does that part of you need?
Reassurance
Yeah.
and
All that reassurance.
releasing pressure off of myself to try and again do God's job.
Gotcha.
Like I did earlier, trying to, yeah.
Yeah. So you give yourself permission to just release control here and release pressure.
Yes.
Just give them all that love. Is it up to you how others are treated?
No.
No. So can you release that responsibility back to God
Yes.
and know that only they can create in their reality? Releasing a lot of stagnant energy, a lot of things you're holding on to that are not for you to hold on to. Yeah. How does it feel to let go of all of that?
Relieving.
So how does it feel to let go of all of that?
Say it again.
How does it feel to let go of all of that?
Relieving.
Good. Yeah. Is there anything else that you need here to feel loved in this space?
It feels complete. It's just constant reminder to stop trying to do God's job when it's so easy to fall back into that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you choose to trust yourself and trust God in this space?
I choose to trust myself and trust God. Yes.
Good. Yeah. Give your inner child a big hug and let him come home to you completely. Just let him integrate and relax because he doesn't have to do the big work anymore. All he has to do is love himself, and that is enough.
This was great.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our next card is Surrender Stubbornness. If you are tensing up or taking a rigid stance about something, gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and yourself.
Yeah, that feels good. So I want to ask specifically, Anastasia, in terms of where you're at, like, what has this brought up for you? Like even just the topic, or even just thinking about the topic, what kind of thoughts or feelings have you had around it?
Well, I guess whenever you were talking earlier about like LGBTQ and I guess Black people like having the same struggles or like the same struggles in Black Lives Matter. What came up for me is I guess we all like have that same like feeling too, because like I feel like that's what it's like for me too, like being mixed. So that's kind of where I was healing too, is just like the I guess like treating myself with respect, if that makes sense, so that I can like have that reflected in my reality too. So that's where I was with it. Sorry, I don't know if that thing, like, if you can hear it, but.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay, good.
Is this thing on?
Well, sometimes I feel like I talk really low too, so that I'm like, I have to like check in. I'm like, can y'all hear?
We've heard you every single time perfectly. You don't have to worry about that.
Good. Yeah. So that's pretty much mostly what came up for me. Oh, also, because we were talking about Marsha P a little bit. I was what came up for me was like, did any of you guys like read about what happened at that time? I feel like Deji knows a lot about it. I didn't get to read about all of it, but I know that like there was like the Stonewall riots or something.
Yeah, that's in New York here.
Oh yeah, your place.
Yeah. I mean, I saw there's a Netflix documentary on her. So yeah, I would say that I know just enough of what happened, because I know that she was murdered, but no one knows what happened exactly.
Yeah, and I also like read that they changed like the reasoning at some point. Like it used to say that she died because of this, and then in like 2003 or something they changed it to say they don't know. So like that's kind of weird. I think they said it was like drugs at first, and now they're like, oh no, we don't know. JK.
So I think you've helped. You've kind of touched on something quite significant in terms of change that has been brought about by people that stood up under significant odds and have led movements regardless of what the times were doing or what the times were. And so that the power of actually standing in your truth and standing in your power and showing up for something that you actually believe in, which is something I think we might want to, just as a BLM topic, also explore. And I think it's just that next step of kind of fully understanding leadership and BLM leadership and those iconic people that have done things in the past that have paved the way. And I don't think we've necessarily just looked at even, you know, the history of the power that has been there, which is possibly something that we are overlooking and not celebrating the power that was there and focusing on all the things that possibly are not right and haven't been right. And we might need to also just explore some of the things that have been right and that were there and that did shift the bar.
I love that you're saying that, because another thing that I also picked up from earlier was with like when you and Yoreen were talking about like trying to search for that photo. Well, I had recently watched that show that Shaleia posted, High on the Hog, and I think they mention in that about like how the information has kind of been like tampered with or like covered up and hidden whenever it's like originated from African culture. So that kind of like goes along with like what you're talking about and the whole topic. So yeah, I'm with you on all of that.
Cool. So I think as an idea to explore, we will look into additional topics because I agree, and I think it also speaks to that concept of whitewashing. So I think it's a good idea to explore it, and then also explore where there's a celebration of the power that has shifted society. We also need to do that a bit. But yeah, so for this week, I think we have reached our conclusion. We are almost on our hour. So I want to say thank you to everybody for their participation and for everybody that has been healing along with us all this time and following us in all our conversations. We thank you all, and we look forward to seeing all of you next week for another conversation around why Black Lives Matter. We invite you to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous conversations, as well as any other conversations that have happened in our Unionism Spiritual Discussion group on Facebook. And we will see all of you next week. Thank you, everybody.